Hi, everyone, and welcome to my session on system organization. My name is Calen, and I am a member of Nsashaell System. We have been plural activists for a long time. My system mate, Sean, used to be an administrator of Plurality Resource Forum, so you may know us from there. We've mostly dropped off the internet at this point to work towards a PhD in psychology. And let me tell you, these tips I'm going to share have been really essential for an undertaking that large. Some of these methods developed as part of our coping process for the past 5 years. My system mates make fun of me for being the king of charts, but using lists and charts can really facilitate communication and make knowing each other and working together easier. I do have a few disclaimers to go through. Every system we've ever met has at least some difference in mechanics from every other system we've met. So some of these tips may be amazingly great for your system, while others may be completely irrelevant. For example, the number of system members matters for some strategies. Much larger systems may have to tweak some of these methods, and very small systems may not need some of them at all. Also, different levels of internal communication are likely to have an effect on whether and how some strategies are used. I figured I would share all the things we've tried with the hope that at least something can be helpful to each listener. And maybe none of the strategies are useful, but you enjoy listening to someone talk about this, and that's okay too. One more note on this, it's important to manage expectations. When we started trying to find fronting schedule strategies 10 years ago, when we realized we were not the only plural in existence, we were searching for something that would solve all of our problems in one fell swoop, something that would instantly improve our life. We eventually realized that this isn't how anything works in our brain. These strategies will not automatically make everything perfect and wonderful, add more hours to the day, or result in no one ever disagreeing again. Not everyone in your system may even be on board or want to participate, even if some do. So please, take anything from this talk that may be useful, try it, discard the rest, adapt things to your way of working, and don't worry if what you try doesn't work for y'all right away or at all. I'm not aware of any common triggers in the content, but as always, if you are feeling activated for any reason, please feel free to step away, hit mute or pause, or do whatever you all need to do to take care of yourselves and each other. And finally, before I begin, I would like to thank my system mates for supporting me in making this presentation, especially for the wonderful illustrations of me lecturing. So here's an outline of what I intend to present to you today. First, I will talk about a couple of ways to keep track of system members and learn more about each other, making a system binder and doing demographic surveys. Next, I will discuss fronting schedules and fronting request lists. Then I will talk about system check-ins, and finally, I will explain tools for decision-making, including surveys and written discussions. So the first technique I'll talk about is making a system binder. We created a system binder for a couple of reasons. First of all, when a member is new or recently reawakened, creating their binder page can help them to decide on aspects of their internal appearance and give them things to reflect on. Also, having a system binder can help system mates learn about each other and provide a tangible record of who is there. We also like having a system binder in the event we feel comfortable sharing details about our system with friends. It can be helpful for them to have a visual when learning about our system. So what can this project look like? We have a binder with protective sheet covers, one for each member of the system, and each person has a front page and a back page. My system mate Avery has kindly volunteered to show their page, so you can get an idea of what this could look like. Here we have the front of Avery's page. As you can see, they have pictures of themselves under their name. 2 of the pictures are from avatar makers. One of them was drawn by Avery, and one of them was drawn by a different member of our system, Nia. Now, you don't have to have artwork to make some visuals. You can get creative with it. Any kinds of pictures off the internet, vision board style colors and patterns, song lyrics, anything you want to use can be part of a project like this. We've seen systems create collages for each member using color, texture, and printed art from online. And on the back of Avery's page, we have some information about them, including gender identity, pronouns, age, what team they're on, which is kind of like the role they currently have, etc. You could include any information the person wants here. Maybe your system is connected to worlds or planets, so you could have where the system member is from. Or if, like us, you have furries, otherkin, and therians in addition to or instead of human members, you could include species. Maybe different information is important for different members, and so every page has different kinds of info on it. All of that is just fine. The idea is to have a page that expresses something about each person in the system. There are many ways to change this around. You could keep track of groups rather than individuals if your system is larger, for example. And remember, you don't have to make a page for every single person if that isn't something they want. It's meant to be fun and creative and an easy reference for anyone who wants to learn about your group. We've found it helpful because as things in the system change, we can add pages, switch out pictures, and edit the typed surveys to update it. Our favorite thing about having a system binder is that we like looking at ourselves and each other. It's kind of a tangible record of our internal community. This next technique is a chart to keep track of different systemate characteristics. As you can see, I have an example chart here with made up example system members. It's fairly straightforward, but can be done in a bunch of different ways. The columns I have here are name, age, gender, pronouns, sexuality, and spiritual affiliation. The first step is to decide what information you want to know and put those in the columns. Maybe your system doesn't identify as LGBTQ+, and so labeling gender, sexuality, and pronouns is less important. Maybe everyone in your system has a similar spiritual affiliation. Perhaps instead you want to list favorite activities or year the person became active in the system. Maybe you all have other ways of categorizing yourselves that are important. The columns can basically be whatever you want. Next, you can either have someone ask internally and record responses, or you can have people front over the course of a day, week, month, etc., to write responses for themselves. Note that question mark and unknown are totally valid responses, and different people may have different ways of articulating their labels. If you have age sliders, they can put a range for age, while others may only list a single number or write something else like ageless. The important thing is to have people express themselves. It can be helpful, once you've collected the chart data, to create a summary as you can see here. I like to count how many people fall into each age group, for example, by looking at the responses in the age column. If someone is between the ages of 0 and 12, I would count them as a kid, whereas someone between 13 and 19 would be a teen. Sometimes you may need some clarification as to how to categorize things. For example, if this were my actual system, I might ask Janet if femme feels more like it belongs under woman or under non-binary before counting her in the gender category, because that label can be used either way, and I don't know which one she means. I have been known to go the extra mile and make pie charts of the results because I'm a nerd and I like these things. How far you go with it is up to y'all. The point is to see who's there, what they say about their identities, and when things change over time, demographic charts make tracking things easier. We like to do these once a year to see who aged and who didn't, if anyone wants to change their pronouns, and if the breakdown of the age groups has shifted. Next, I'll explain how to create a fronting assignment chart. This one requires extra disclaimers. Sometimes people see this and assume that we really are this organized on a daily basis, and that everyone always fronts when they're supposed to according to this chart. That is not really the case. So let me explain how this chart works. The idea is to negotiate teams of system members who are responsible for various tasks that the system needs to accomplish. As you can see in this example chart, you can have a team for different kinds of activities, such as self-care, work, classes, even sleep. Different system members then sign up for different teams. It's very important that teams are chosen individually rather than assigned, because you want people to choose tasks they might actually be motivated to do. Once a team is formed, it's up to the team to decide who does what within that particular list of tasks. For example, on a class team, your system may divide 3 classes among 3 different team members, or one member might attend all classes, one might do the reading assignments, and someone else might take exams or write papers for all the classes. It depends on what people on the team like or want to try doing. Alternatively, the team could agree that whatever task must be done next should be tackled by whichever team member is most available to front at that time. One advantage of the team system is that even if one member is having a bad day, the others can make sure that task still gets done. At the bottom of this team chart, you can see I've made up an example calendar. In our planner, we often have written which teams are doing which tasks during the week. This provides a rough guide for fronting that can help system members know who needs to be available to front on which days. The team system is more of a guide than anything else. We have found it to be very useful for deciding who is responsible for what. It can be helpful even if you don't actually end up following the schedule, because negotiating it to begin with can encourage people to participate in certain ways and foster a sense of community. It can make people feel useful to support others on their team, even if they don't front for the task and simply offer encouragement from the back. If someone not on the team gets front stuck, it can still be helpful to have this chart. Let's say in our example system that Ed, who is usually in charge of cooking, is stuck in front during work on Monday. Ed could try to ask Sally, Camelia, or Aaron about what to do at work in order to guide his actions. Or if he can't reach any of them, he could try to imagine what they might do and use that as a guide. In other words, it is a tool that can be adapted to your particular system mechanics. We routinely give people the opportunity to change teams in order to help anyone who is tired of their current responsibilities or bored with the team they're currently on. You can change the teams at a prearranged time. We tend to do this every semester or more often. It's just there to provide a framework for fronting. Next is the fronting request list. We use these to help us decide how to spend free time. We find that it helps us to prioritize system members who have a difficult time advocating for themselves in the moment. It makes things more fair, I guess you could say. Basically, we have a designated page where people can write an activity they want to do in our free time. Sometimes we make a fronting request list in conjunction with an emotional check-in, which I'll go over next. As you can see in this example list, you can then keep track of who has gotten to do their activity and who hasn't, and if possible, prioritize free time so that eventually everyone gets to do something they like. We use a cross through to signal that the person is satisfied with the time that they've had for now. We use a check mark to show that the person has done the activity, but would like a bit more time in the future to continue. In the example here, Addie seems to have finished reading their book, while Parker has maybe not completed their watercolor picture and would like to finish it soon. If this were really my system, we would probably prioritize the people who haven't done their activity at all. We might ask Lily if she wants to go shopping the next time we have a couple of hours and the money to do so. If the system mates who haven't gone aren't feeling it at the next opportunity for free time activities, we would then ask Parker if they want to finish their picture. Sometimes we don't make it through an entire list before making the next one. Sometimes people get out of the mood to do whatever they listed, or enough time doesn't materialize in our schedule for something with a longer time commitment, like the museum trip in the example. That's okay. Sometimes we move list items onto a new list. Other times people change their mind and we just don't complete everything people wrote. The important thing is that it helps us to feel like our needs are heard by everyone else. Next, I'll explain the emotional check-in chart. We use this one more often than any of the others because it's very useful. We use it to find the source of certain emotions. For example, to identify who is feeling really irritable if there's an irritable vibe in our brain. We use it for problem solving and anticipating future problems. And just generally knowing what is going on with people because we like to see how everyone is doing. So here you can see I've made a chart with columns. These are the actual columns that we use in our charts, even though the example system is, once again, made up. The columns are name, feelings, thoughts, and requests. Name is self-explanatory, but feelings means, how are you feeling today? And by thoughts, we mean, what are you thinking about lately? Requests can be a relatively versatile column, which we allow people to interpret however they want. Some people will use it to joke around. Others use it to complain or express gratitude. Some ask for an item or fronting time. It just depends on how people want to express themselves. You can customize the column headings based on what you would like to check in about. Keep in mind that people may interpret them in different ways. Once you're ready for the chart to be filled in, you can either ask internally and write responses or allow everyone to switch through and fill the chart out themselves. Again, people could fill it out over a longer period of time as they come out, or it can be done all at once, depending on system mechanics or what is most comfortable for y'all. We find it useful to summarize the responses in some way once everyone has filled in the chart. We tend to experience a lot of emotions at once as our members' feelings mix and flow around our body and the front. Sometimes we like to sort out why the overall emotional vibe is the way it is. So we will mark each row with color-coded dots. Green means an overall positive feeling from that system member. Yellow means a mix or a neutral feeling, and red means an overall negative feeling. Then we count dots of each color, as you can see in this example. Often the ratios there make sense of the overall system mood that day. It's important to ask people if you aren't sure which color to categorize them as. For anyone marked with a red dot, we typically try to see if there's a way we can offer internal support. We might prioritize fronting time for someone to do something they like. In the example, we see that Ben is feeling depressed. If Ben enjoys watching TV, we might set up time for him to watch his favorite show and see if that helps. We might send someone the person gets along with to check on them. Like with Mary here, she is obviously not really wanting to talk to whoever's doing the check-in, but maybe she has a friend inside who can approach her to see if she needs anything. And maybe she doesn't, and she just wants to be left alone for a while, and that's okay too. After looking at the dots, sometimes we check the responses for themes and write them down. Maybe a lot of people are stressed about school. That's good to know. Or maybe there's a problem that could be solved that lots of people are thinking about. We sometimes use check-ins as a springboard for a later survey. I'll talk about surveys next. Sometimes check-ins can anticipate possible future problems. For example, Jake seems pretty excited about buying things online. Do they have a budget for it? That might be good to figure out before they go on a shopping spree. So, as you can see, check-in charts are very versatile and good for finding out a lot of important information. And it's just kind of nice to see how people are doing. Read whatever silly or important things are written. You can schedule them and do them regularly if you want to, or do them on special occasions or whenever you feel the need to check in. Next, I'm going to explain how to use surveys to aid in system decision-making. Before I get into this, I need to talk about what it's not. We don't use these surveys to do a majority rules decision-making process. We use them to find out prevailing attitudes and concerns people have. We tend to use surveys at the beginning of the decision-making process to figure out where people are at in terms of an issue, then discuss further, especially on major life choices. We always take disagreement seriously. So that said, let's talk about how to do a survey. So let's say you've discovered through a check-in about a decision that needs to be made. In the example here, our example system needs to discuss getting a car. Someone in the system has written out in black some questions for everyone else to answer. You'll notice these are all multiple choice questions. I'll go over a more free-form method, the written discussion, on the next slide. So our survey writing example system mate has come up with 3 questions to get an idea of where everyone is at regarding getting a car. At the top of the page is a clear indication of what the survey is about. Next, we see a specific instruction. Depending on your internal communication and if surveys are a new thing y'all are trying, you may need to be sure everyone who comes out to fill in the survey knows exactly what to do. Then we have 3 specific questions with multiple choice answers with space next to them for tally marks. I have demonstrated 3 kinds of questions here. The first has a simple choice between yes, no, and maybe. It can also be helpful to put don't know as an answer choice. The second type of question has specific types of cars to choose from. This kind of question is useful if you have a limited number of options, but a yes/no answer choice doesn't make sense. Third, we have a question about time frame. As you can see, the answer choices are periods of time. This allows system members to express differences and priorities. You can also add a space for comments. Just make sure you give that a lot of room. And make sure your questions are specific and clearly written so that everyone interprets them at least mostly the same. Also make sure there are answer choices to accommodate disagreement, like how in question 2, I provided no car as an answer choice for anyone who selected no for question 1. Now that you have your questions written out, it's time for everyone to put responses. In the example, each system mate has put a tally next to their choice for each question in purple. Maybe this was done in a single sitting, or maybe it took a month for everyone to front and fill out the survey. Instead of tallies, you can have each person write their name next to their responses. This has the advantage of gathering extra data about who might have concerns. However, sometimes people prefer the anonymity of tallies. Once your data is gathered and everyone who wants to respond has done so, it can be useful to summarize. Here, I've done this 3rd step in pink. I've circled the majority votes and then written a statement answering each question. For the first question, should we get a car? The most tallies are next to yes. However, you can see that slightly less than half the system answered with a definitive yes. My statement says, most say we should get a car, but there's a large percent not sure. This captures the important point that while yes has the most tallies, more than half answered no or maybe. For question 2, what kind of car? Don't know has the most tallies next to it, and the rest of the tallies are pretty spread out. I wrote, most don't know what kind of car. Then I have highlighted the kind of car with the most tallies next to it, which is a car covered in glitter. I mean, obviously. So I wrote a second statement. Of people who picked, most want a car covered in glitter. If this were a real survey, I would probably note that the question of what kind of car needs a lot more discussion to be resolved, as people seem uncertain and not on the same page about it. For question 3, when should we get a car? Within 6 months has the most tallies, and I noticed that the responses are kind of stacked towards the soonest choices. So I wrote, most want to get a car sooner rather than later. We find this kind of survey structure to be very useful for including everyone in the decision-making process. On especially difficult issues, we often do multiple surveys along with written discussions and internal meetings. I'll talk about written discussions next. So here's another decision-making strategy we sometimes use, a written discussion. The advantage of this technique is that it allows for more nuance and gives the opportunity for maximum self-expression and elaboration of opinions. Some disadvantages include that it is harder to summarize and takes longer to do compared to the multiple choice survey. We use this type of strategy when we're mulling over something complicated, are in the beginning stages of tackling a decision, or people have a lot to say on a topic. Helps us to see where people are at. We found that it can foster empathy for systemates who disagree with the majority because they are able to make a case for why. It brings the system together in that way. The method is pretty simple. Write an open-ended question at the top of the page and maybe add an instruction that everyone should write a paragraph answering it. Then, over however long it takes, have people write out their responses. Our example system is wondering what to do over summer vacation. 4 of them have responded with ideas. To summarize this, we'd probably make a list of things to do. Maybe we would make sure Jennifer gets a day for a short beach trip. Maybe several other members also end up writing that they'd like to go to the beach and it becomes a longer outing. We could plan a day at the zoo for Ophelia and maybe let her eat a small amount of candy that day or something. But we would also need to make sure Hank and others have time at home for crafting and throughout the summer that we get rest in order to address Lauren's concern. I picked a lighthearted question here because I didn't want something extremely triggering. We use this discussion method for more serious concerns. People write out complicated emotions about difficult topics. In the summary, we would list different sides in a debate or write a paragraph about what makes an issue complicated. This is an especially versatile technique that can be used for everything from introductions or saying hi to processing trauma or coping with difficult choices. So those are all of the charts and lists I have for you today. Remember, these are not perfect strategies. Please modify them for your needs since every system is different. Sometimes doing these lists and charts is helpful simply as a way to foster system community. Even if you don't end up following the schedule or making the decision yet, it's a good way to communicate. These techniques can be handwritten, audio recordings, typed, in your Discord server, or any other format. We do have a personal Discord server where we sometimes discuss things, and we have found that helpful. Do your communication in the way that makes the most sense for your system. Also, it's okay if they aren't your style. These are merely suggestions to give y'all ideas. So that is my presentation. Thank you for listening, and hopefully we'll see you around the conference.